Welcome to Memory Tricks in Comfy UI for the LoveRAM guys. I have been in a research phase before starting my next project, and today I want to talk about memory setup for Comfy UI, especially for anyone with a setup like mine, and I want to talk about how I've got the most out of it so far. It can probably be improved, so if you have ideas, feel free to share them in the comments section. I'm not that London actor today, I'm someone else. I'm still testing Microsoft Vibe Voice, and though I do have a beautiful voice of my own and share it with you, I like testing AI, so this is what you are getting today. The biggest cob we have in this AI game, well, there are two actually, time and energy. So anywhere we can serve that we need to look at. Another big dig is memory capacity, most especially VRAM. VRAM can fold over to system RAM, and system RAM can fold over to swap RAM, but these things have their lips. And everyone know what the problems are because we all get ooms, yeah?
Yeah.
So my hardware is a 3060 RTX GPU with 12 gigabytes of VRAM running on a Windows 10 machine with 32 gigabytes of system RAM. When WAN 2.2 model came out a month or so back, it highlighted something that memory management in Comfy UI it'd be better. It's probably improved since, but when I tried the WAN 2.2 models, I got ooms constantly. So I was forced to get under the hood and muck about and see what could be done. Here is what I found out. I'd seen this guy on a Discord posting 3-second videos with decent quality, and he had 6 GB VRAM. A bit of stalking him, and I soon found out what he was doing. The cunning blighter had gone and set up a 90 GB static swap file on an SSD that was an NVMe drive. Okay, I thought, what's the catch? Well, the catch is SSD drives don't like being used much, they wear out fast, but they are faster than a lit cat and burn about as quickly. But hey, we are in the phase of living dangerously, so let's do it. So I tried it out on my SSD, that happens to be a SATA, and it went and worked. I had run a WAN 2.2 model workflow. Blimey. Now this is good short term, but what is the long term issue? How quickly am I going to destroy my SSD drive and have to fork out a load of gold to buy another? Well, no one know. I think I read somewhere that writing to SSD is the issue, not reading, but I don't think that helps much with a swap file. Anyway, that is trick number 3, make a large static swap file on your Windows machine on an SSD drive. Don't do it on an HDD drive unless you like watching paint dry. Also, be aware you will probably kill your SSD sooner than you might like, but I did see another guy suggest he had been doing it for years. But you know how that story goes, you have been warned. And importantly, you need to make sure you leave at least 1.5 times the amount you set as static swap file free at all times on the SSD drive. You need that free space, else bad things might happen, I am told. Okay, you noted I said that was trick number 3. So you no doubt want to know what trick number 1 and 2 are, right? Sure, you do. Trick number 1 is this. Put Disable Smart Memory in your startup bat for Comfy UI. The second part of the trick is to put LoveRAM in there too. Now just this morning an egghead, who he'd to know his stuff about memory, told me not to do the Disable Smart Memory trick, and to do normal RAM instead of LoveRAM. I can't argue with it, because eggheads know their stuff. But back when WAN 2.2 came out, this got my workflow working, so you be the judge. Try them out, let me know what you discover. The Comfy UI devs also will have updated their memory methodology since WAN 2.2 came out, because they were getting grief about that pretty quickly. So maybe it is not a trick anymore. AI world evolves so fast it's impossible to keep up. But that was trick 1 and trick 3 for me, and they worked and still work. So what is trick 2? Well, trick 2 is more about learning to get a feel for what your memory are doing, so you know when to dial back stuff and when to dial more in. Actually, come to think about it, there is a trick 4 that I promised to talk about too, so I add that in shortly. But trick 2 is this Proverse Explorer 64 free download from Microsoft, or something equivalent. Now, I am no egghead, just a regular nerd type of a guy, and so I don't pretend to know all this complex stuff right here in the main window. So what I do is click on that graph there, and what this window, and nod agely like I know what is happening. I don't, but I what this, and I click in GPU tab and what that. So go back to the memory tab a moment, and the bit that seemed to be relevant and relates to my swap file is the commit charge K part. If the current goes up high, it needs to relate to my swap file being very active. Combine that info with the GPU tab info, and you start to get a feel for when things are getting precarious. I've actually seen the peak at 127 million, yet the limit is 100 million, but it was running just tickety-boo, so I left it. But one rule I do now have is when the GPU usage in the top shelf is blapping, I kill Comfy UI and run something else. If GPU usage goes over about 30% and is flutter, like a balking seal being chased by an orca, I don't know where I get the analogies from, but if it is flapping like a flappy thing, it ain't good. your wet flow will be a long 9 cooking. So that is trick 1, 2, and 3. Let's recap before I show you number 4. Number 1, put the flags in Comfy UI and see if it stops those ooms a bit. Actually, to be honest, they don't stop so much as I can be run again and get past some of them. I still get ooms, but it lets me push through them, mostly. Number 2, use a Process Explorer to drill down into the memory activity to watch the GPU, the offload, the RAM, and the swap file activity. Watching it, you start to get a feel for how it looks when it's going good, bad, and ugly. Number 3, the static swap file trick. Put it on an SSD, preferably an NVMe, but mine is on a plain SSD SATA type, I think. My C drive is the SSD NVMe, and I leave that for the system. But importantly, make sure you leave at least 1.5 times the amount you set as static swap free at all times. You need that free space. Now, I can't promise all this will work for you, but it works for me. Tried and tested, and I made all these changes because 1.2.2 wasn't just ooms but was blue screening on me. Now I get no blue screens and fewer ooms. Few show-stopping ooms, I should say. So, last but not least, trick number 4. That is workflow-related stuff. I'll keep it brief. I switch between using native and REPR workflows. In native, I use gguf models and throw in patches for Sage Attention and PyTorch. For this to work, you need PyTorch 2.7 and CUDA 1.2.8 installed. You also need Sage Attention, and I have version 1. I don't think higher versions are much use for 3060 cards anyway, but I don't know. Sage Attention is a bit of a sod to set up, and I won't go into it here. The tricks come more in the REPR workflows. I use gguf for the clip load, and I show you that here. Use these nodes to make it, and why I do that is because the standard clips are pretty huge. You also want to offload what you can to a CPU using nodes. You find these in most of my workflows, so I won't bother explaining it all too much here. Just check out my later workflows and you will find them in there. Another thing in REPR is I sometimes switch to FP8 models. Now a 3060 card can use E5M2 FP8 scaled models. I don't know why, it is just how it is, but sometimes it works better and faster than native workflows or gguf models. Just something I found on my machine and why I tend to swap between them. If one works, I stick to it. If it feels too slow, I try the other way. I think that will do for now for the memory stuff. It's really more tech than I feel qualified to make claims about, but I see so many people not getting what they need from their low VRAM cards that it seems a waste if I don't share what I have found works for me. I hope something here helps you figure it out. I still think the 3060 RTX is the best value card for what it can do. It costs less than $400 for Christ's sake. You can replace it easily. The cost, as I said, is time and energy. 3060 takes longer, and whether it costs more in electricity than a 5090 is debatable. Those things run hard. Another trick you might want to look into if you are running a long project or don't want to batter your card too hard, like I was for 80 days, is to undervolt your card, but that is another story and I won't go into it here. Ciao for now, Bambinos.
Counterfeit love.